Hey you guys, it's your girl T. So I want to go ahead and shout out Lauren Valdez. She's one of my girls on my fan page. I always posting really cool stories. And her and a lot of people have been wanting to know my opinion on everything that's going down in Nutty, New York. As we all know, there's been a lot of protests out there. A lot of Chinese Americans all over the country, not just in New York, are protesting the conviction of Peter Liang, who was an NYPD officer who was recently found guilty of killing Akai Gurley. So this has been worldwide news. A lot of people are very upset. The Chinese community is coming out in droves from Minneapolis to Dallas to New York. All over the country, Chinese Americans and Chinese people from China are all coming together to basically, support this man, Peter. So it's causing a lot of controversy. A lot of black folks are kind of upset. Black Lives Matter, of course, they're involved. Akai Gurley's family's kind of feeling some type of way. But I think people are not looking at the big picture. I want you guys to go ahead and look at these clips that I put together. There's also a really cool activist. Her name is Jessie Fong. She basically spoke the other day on the news, and I have the raw footage of her speaking out about why all these Chinese people are coming together to support Peter. So I want you guys to go ahead and check this out, and I'm gonna come back with the rest of my commentary.
Over 10,000 people came by the busload, flooding Cadman Plaza Park, rallying in support of former NYPD officer Peter Liang.
What do you want? Justice! When do you want it?
No! They're outraged with the jury's decision to convict the rookie cop on manslaughter and official misconduct charges for the November 2014 shooting of Akai Gurley in the stairwell of the Pink Houses in East New York.
It's an accident. The bullet ricocheted off the wall, you can't punish a guy for that. He was no intent for any kind of crime.
Those at the rally held signs saying Liang is being made a scapegoat during a time when police relations with black communities have reached a fever pitch.
He should have never been indicted, should have never went to trial. There should have been more of a, it's not a criminal trial, it should have been more of a civil trial, and he should not have even gone through this.
Protesters handed out this petition demanding the judge set aside the verdict and sentence the cop to probation. They're also calling for the ouster of Brooklyn DA Ken Thompson.
DA Ken Thompson, political future is over. We will not vote for him in 2017. He is done, okay? He turned his back on our people.
A major counter-protest within this protest for Officer Peter Liang. Members of Black Lives Matter, even members of Akai Gurley's family came here. They had a small rally and were shepherded out by police.
Guilty! 15 years!
Akai Gurley's aunt Hortensia Patterson leading a small group of protesters who heralded the conviction.
Give him the max! Give him the max! 15 years!
Liang is the first NYPD cop to be convicted for a police-involved shooting in a decade. I asked his lawyer, Ray Cochetz, about the officer who hasn't spoken publicly since the sentencing.
And how's your client been holding up, after this verdict? He sat at the table and cried for 25 minutes.
He's devastated. That's all I can say.
Let's talk about white cops in New York City that get away with it, and the DA in Staten Island that let them get away with it. And what are you guys doing about that? About Dan Donovan?
But that's where we've always been, sir.
Have you? What have you guys been doing about Dan Donovan?
We've been always.
What have you been doing about Dan Donovan?
Black people ran their own candidate, James Lane.
They got beat.
Right.
You got beaten like a drum.
Asians didn't support him.
So we can't.
Did the Asian community support him?
We can't protest now because of that.
The Asian community is protesting today based on misinformation of the facts.
Okay. Given the facts that have happened in the previous shooting,
that's the argument. White cops have not been indicted.
No.
Peter Liang should not be indicted.
Let me make the next step. Let me make the next argument, which is that if you want to change the state of the law, you don't change it on the backs of an Asian American cop. You change the state of the law for all cops.
So
that's
Peter
the
Liang
argument.
should not have been indicted until a white cop is indicted.
You should have faced a system that's going to be applied equally to all that come before it. That's my argument.
So
I don't want to take it any further than you have said.
At the end of the day, if it's not your people, you do not care.
That's true. It happens a lot,
And that's what needs to stop.
I oppose that, and I agree with you.
That's what needs to stop.
But at the same time, you should not accept the scapegoat.
We do not ignore problems.
You do. Let's not paint too good of a picture. I agree. Look, let me agree with you that more Asian Americans should be there with the black community against police violence. Let me agree with you wholeheartedly. Okay. But at the same time, African Americans are not there for us and have our backs on every issue. That is not the case. Let's not.
There is definitely lots of division in society. I wouldn't argue with you.
I'm just saying. I mean, I'm admitting the sins of the community as much as I can.
Right.
But let's talk about it real. The overall issue is white supremacy in this country, in our institutions, that allow these prosecutions selectively to go forward and to be done on political grounds. Asian Americans in New York City do not have political power to the extent that Staten Island white people do under Dan Donovan, and that African Americans do under Ken Thompson in Brooklyn. And so that's what they're frustrated about. You know what?
The same people.
I agree with you that there's a lot that needs to be flattened out, and I want to work with you. Can I have your name or number, and we can talk more?
You're more than welcome to do that.
And I want to actually do a panel for the Asian American community, and I want you to come, and I want us to talk about it and have a really heart-to-heart sort of difficult discussion, because I don't want to do it like this is ridiculous, right? We're yelling at each other across the street, and that's why I came over to talk to you, and I've learned a lot from you. And I'm gonna think more and talk about it. And I want to do it more on a panel.
To be included in this cycle of systemic injustice. We are angry because we are also hurt by the systemic injustices and the structural oppression and the racism that continues to pervade this country. We as Asian Americans, even though we are the model minority, we are still a minority nonetheless. And I think Chinese people and Asian people in this country need to understand that we do not have white privilege. White privilege means they want to be put above the law. They have a sense of superiority and a supremacy that we do not and should not want to associate ourselves with. So this protest is not about aligning ourselves with white privilege. This protest is us standing up and saying our system is wrong. The criminal justice system is wrong. It is unfair. Peter Liang took the fall for the sins of a country, and while he should be held accountable for the actions that he took, we believe that the sentencing that comes down in April needs to be proportionate to his action and not proportionate to the sins of a nation. We want all cops to be held accountable, and we want this justice system to be transparent, to be fair. We want white privilege to end, because this is not how democracy works. This is not what this country was founded upon.
All right, so you guys just saw that footage. So Lauren wanted to know my opinion on the entire situation. So this is what I want to say about everything, okay? And I think a lot of people have not really done their research as to what happened that night. Some people up until recently thought Akai Gurley got killed by a white police officer, and they're just now realizing that the man was Chinese. But what a lot of people are failing to realize is it was not a situation where this Chinese man was just sitting there with a gun and he saw Akai Gurley and he just, pointed the gun at him and shot him. That wasn't what happened. What basically happened is that this man was being very careless, and this was truly an accidental shooting. It was almost a perfect storm, okay? Akai Gurley and his baby's mother, and they were waiting for the elevator so that way they could go downstairs. But as we all know, in certain buildings, especially in the project, a lot of times the elevators have issues or they're running really, really slow. So Akai Gurley and his girlfriend decided to walk down the stairway, and the stairways for the most part are kind of dark or really, really dimly lit. So as they're walking down the stairway and they're getting ready to come out the door towards the left, the police officer, for whatever reason, again, being careless, he had his gun in his hand and his finger on the trigger, and he used the gun to basically push open the door forward. So as he went to push open the door forward, his finger slipped, the gun went off, the bullet literally went out of the gun, it hit the wall, it ricocheted off of the wall, and then it penetrated Akai Gurley, okay? So when he got shot, he was so in shock that he ran down 2 flights of stairs. Meanwhile, the whole time his baby's mother is screaming. The police officers initially didn't realize they had shot him. They weren't sure what was happening. So once they ran down there and they seen that he was shot and he realized his weapon has just discharged, you know, he's scared. He's not really sure what to do. He ends up texting his commanding officer as opposed to, you know, calling 911. So he made a series of mistakes, okay? What is bothering with this case is that this was truly an accident, you know, by all, you know, forensics. I'm not even going off of what the people are saying. Forensics is saying that it was an accident, that when the gun went off, it hit the wall and then it ricocheted and it killed Akai Gurley, okay? So all of the forensics evidence is supporting what the police officer and what the, you know, other witnesses are saying. It's not a situation where he said, put your hands up, and the man didn't put his hands up and then he shot him. It was nothing like that, okay? What bothers me is that I think back to the Eric Garner case, okay? Where you had all these police officers around one man, jumping him, you know, pulling him down. Then you had Daniel Pontiano come up and start choking Eric Garner. And Eric Garner saying, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. You know, let go. I can't breathe. And instead of him letting go, he proceeds to continuously choke this man. He literally choked the life out of this man on camera. It was not an accident. He had fair warning. The man was telling him that he couldn't breathe. But yet and still, Daniel Pontiano basically got off with cold-blooded murder on camera. Okay, this Chinese man shot somebody by accident, and now they're trying to make him the sacrificial lamb. That's what I don't agree with, okay? Another thing, this should be a big wake-up call to the Asian community. And I have a lot of Asian subscribers. Shout out to y'all. But this should be a wake-up, because I know a lot of Asian people, for whatever reason, I'm not saying all, a lot of y'all tend to like associate yourselves to the white community or think that you guys are like the white people of the minority group. But now you guys are learning that there is a white supremacist system. And I'm noticing a lot of Asians now using that word white supremacy. I'm noticing that word white supremacy being used a lot. But when a lot of black folks were using that word, they were being told that they're being racist, they're reaching, y'all are tripping, there's no such thing. But now Asian people are realizing that there is white supremacy, and they're basically using this Chinese man as a scapegoat. So to me, as a black woman and as a black person in America, I don't think that this is a win-win for black people. You know, it's funny that he can be found guilty, but yet and still somebody who killed somebody on tape was let go. Even had the whole Mike Brown situation with Darren Wilson. He was let go as well. You know, they said in the history of New York, only one other cop, and this was like years ago, has been found guilty, but now all of a sudden this man has been found guilty, and this case was truly an accident. So I really feel like they're just trying to throw the black community a bone and say, oh, you guys are always saying that we're racist and we're letting people off. We're not, you know, supporting you guys. We're letting off the police. But it's funny that when it comes to an Asian police officer, all of a sudden they're down with basically throwing him under the bus and allowing him to take the fall. This man is looking at 15 years in prison for an accident. Now, am I saying that he should not get any time? That's not what I'm saying. If I had a gun and I behaved carelessly with my gun, and with me spinning the gun around or doing something silly with my gun, like using it to open a door, and I killed somebody in that process, me as a civilian would do time. Even though it was an accident, I didn't mean to, I'm remorseful, I would probably get 5 to 10 years. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not saying that this man should just be let go and should be freed, because he did take somebody's life who was innocent. Akai Gurley was doing nothing more in his apartment and walking out the door with his girlfriend. He did not expect to lose his life. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't like he was in the middle of committing a crime. It wasn't like he was being disrespectful. This man probably didn't even know what hit him. You know, he literally just died out the blue. So I feel very, very bad for him. So yeah, somebody should pay for that, but I'm not going to take this as a celebration. When you've had so many white cops out here who have killed black people in cold blood and they've gotten away with it. So I definitely understand why the Asian community is upset. I definitely understand them rallying together. One thing I will say that I very much respect about the Asian community is how they came out in droves. In New York alone, over 10,000 Chinese people showed up at the park to protest. That was just in New York alone. Not even considering out here in LA, they've been protesting, and in Minneapolis, they've been protesting, and down south in Dallas. Like, when Asian folks come together, honey, they come together, okay? It would have been more powerful if they would have came together to stand with black people. We were also out there protesting about Michael Brown and Eric Gardner and everything else. Maybe if they would have stood in solidarity with black folks, maybe this whole situation with Akai Gurley may have not happened. You know, so I think for me, what I'm taking away from this is that yes, there's racism in America and we need to start healing from this. You know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, I'm not going to judge all white people and act like all white people are bad. I judge people, you guys know this, on an individual basis on how you treat me and my family. You know what I'm saying? Because there's good people of every race and there's bad people of every race. You know, but the system is definitely unfair. You know, there's things that we go through as black people that people of other races don't go through. Or in the words of Jessica Pham, Asians are the favored minority group. And I found that really interesting that she used that word because that's how a lot of people think. You know, a lot of people have this misconception that Asian people are just, you know, smart and all they do is math. They never get into trouble. And that's not true. Asian people are like anybody. You know, I have a lot of Asian friends out here, you know, in LA. And yeah, some of them are very, very bright and brilliant people. And some of them are ghetto and ratchet as hell. And all they do is dance and freestyle. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, people are just people at the end of the day. And we need to stop judging folks based on stereotypes and start getting to know each other as individuals. So for me, what I take away from this is I'm glad it's causing dialogue. I'm glad it's getting people to come together and see that black folks are not crazy. We're not just out here talking about white supremacy because we have nothing else to talk about and we just want to complain, bitch, and whine. Now the Asian community is seeing it as well. And I'm glad they're coming out to support their own, and I'm glad that they're coming out to protest. But I want to see more minority groups come together when we're all going through things. You know what I'm saying? Not just when black people are going through things, you only see black people. Not just when you see Asian people going through things, you only see Asian people. When you see minorities in general going through things, everybody should come out there and support. When you see poor white people going through things and being, you know, treated unjustly, people should come out there and support as well. You know, so I just think that at the end of the day, this is causing open dialogue and a dialogue that needs to be had. And we need to realize at the end of the day, it's about fairness. It's about justice. It's about people wanting to live their life and wanting a chance to grow old and not have to worry about getting killed by the police or getting pulled over and not making it home. So it's just really sad, but this is definitely sparking a lot of good debate, a lot of good dialogue. And like I said, I don't take this entire situation with Peter Liang as a win. I definitely feel like they're trying to use him as a sacrificial lamb. So I will not be celebrating him going to prison when you have so many other white officers who never saw a day in jail. They also got GoFundMe accounts. They no longer have to work. They're living comfortably off the hog. You know what I'm saying? So the whole situation to me is just really unfortunate. So anyways, let's go ahead and get the discussion popping. Go ahead and leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts on this entire situation concerning Peter Liang and the Chinese protesters coming out to support him and have his back, and also the Black Lives Matter people coming out there as well to complain and state their grievances. You know, do you feel like they are trying to throw Peter Liang under the bus? Do you feel like they're trying to make him a sacrificial lamb? Or do you feel like, you know what, it's about time that a police officer is finally going to jail no matter the race? And then also, how do you feel about what Jessica Pham had to say as well? So let's go ahead and get the discussion popping. Go ahead and leave a comment. All right, deuces. Hey you guys, it's your girl T. Make sure to subscribe, like, and share my videos. You can also visit Lovelyti.com to purchase any merchandise. Also, don't forget to click the boxes down below to watch any of my previous videos. Talk to y'all later. Deuces.